Today on the show, our World Cup preview series continues. It is episode number 4. We've talked teams. Now we're talking players, but we're not just talking any old player. You know Mbappe, you know Messi, you know Ronaldo, you know Christian Pulisic, who's in that exact same tier as those 4-2 mentioned stars. And it's boring. It's played out. Instead, we want to introduce to you our James Rodríguez series of Breakout World Cup stars. We're going to give you a starting 11, complete with positions, plus a 9-man substitute bench. All players to watch at the upcoming World Cup. That's coming up right after the jingle. Live from San Jose, California and Brooklyn, New York, continues to be and will always remain the Any Given Thursday podcast. I switched it up on you. Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I didn't know how to feel about it. It just caught me by surprise.
Don't hate me.
I wasn't expecting it, and it's kind of thrown me for a loop.
Well, great. On that note, we are talking young breakout stars of the tournament, David, and this is a little bit of an interesting exercise because there are some obvious ones that are simply too famous or too old at this point to be included. Would you like to go over some of our criteria for the James Rodríguez pool of contenders?
Yeah, I think you should read me out the criteria because I don't have it in front of me right now.
Okay, fine. Tried to trick you. Yeah. Tried to trick you into doing some work for me, but I will do it instead. So, guys like Güler, guys like Endrick, guys like Nico Paz, even though we're throwing out of this exercise because they're all super well known. You mean Yamal, right? He's one of the biggest stars in the world. You have to be 22 or younger throughout the entirety of the World Cup. You cannot turn 23 during the World Cup. You have to be 22 or younger, ideally younger, because that's just fun. You cannot play for a giant club already. This disqualifies those Madrid and Barcelona people I just mentioned. Too big a club. If you have to be in a very specific situation to be considered if you play for one of the biggest contenders. Spain, Argentina, Brazil, etc.
And I took out a guy like Ryan, who has broken out for Bournemouth recently, and he's become such a important piece for the Brazil national team that if you're watching the World Cup, you're going to know who he is.
Transfer value is a good way to think of this. If your transfer value is too high, say, I don't know, 30, 40 million, maybe that's too low. But you know what I mean? Like if you're
the prices nowadays.
Yeah, if you're a publicly traded commodity already, then we're not considering you. More than likely, given these criteria, you will be playing in the Bundesliga. But we will cover many of those coming up. There is some people who are just on the cut line here that had to be carefully considered. And one such person, David, we removed just minutes before recording because of the time of recording. This is Monday, June 1st for context that we are recording this. Does sound like Jan Diomande, the young Ivorian Leipzig player, just 19 years old, very talented winger. Both PSG and Liverpool are butting heads to sign him. So by the time the World Cup starts, he will no longer fit within our criteria.
And even that, he was already kind of a borderline case because we just weren't sure what his market value was going to be. I think we underestimated it. And Leipzig is definitely one of those like borderline clubs of being almost too big to be included. But I think this made it an easy choice to say, okay, we'll exclude him and we'll talk about someone else in his place.
He had a spectacular year at Leipzig. After spending the previous year with Leganes, he had 13 goals and 9 assists in just 36 appearances for the German club as a teenager. And he is just he's the new dribbly boy, basically. I question why PSG need yet another winger to place on their super team full of superhumans of French or French adjacent talent. But hey, they're going for the three-peat.
That's a different conversation. Yeah, for a later date, I think, as well.
This is why we don't talk about the Champions League on this show. Other close omissions, I thought the pair of fun Norwegian attackers, Antonio Nusu and Andreas Schilderup, also just missed the cut. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Nusa in particular, he's also a Leipzig player, which put him kind of on the borderline. And I feel like he's been getting a lot of the love in the build up to the World Cup that we're hoping to spread out a little more. Sheldrup, I think it's more for who he was almost 2 years ago when he first broke out onto the scene. You know, The Guardian, when they do like their top 60 young players born in whatever year. I think he was like number 2 or 3 on his birth year for that. So he was so hyped up and so talked about that he's still kind of in the public consciousness. And I felt like that's the right exclusion there.
They could also both play roles on their team and are on a little bit of the older end. Like Andreas is 22 as of today, maybe. So did he just turn 22? Good for him.
Good for him.
It says June 1st, 2004 is his birthday. So
happy birthday.
This is his birthday. Happy birthday, Andreas. Aw. Should we sing him happy birthday in Norwegian?
No, because 1, I don't sing, and 2, I don't know Norwegian.
So. I only know happy birthday in Dutch and English. Otherwise, John Uzun, also a close omission here. Do you agree with that?
I feel like that one may be a little more arguable just because he's not as well known of a name, at least in America. But, you know, I'm happy to spread the love out to other players. And yeah, he's another player. Had a great season. Frankfurt. Yeah, not as big a club as Leipzig, but I think he's definitely more well known than the other guys we decided to keep on this list. So I think that was a fair exclusion.
In many ways, Frankfurt is a much bigger club than Leipzig, but that's another thing we can...
Historically, yes. Yeah. Currently.
Yeah. Probably fan base wise as well. But yeah, let's just dive right into the team here now that we've set these conditions. The goal was to select one player for every position in a starting 11 with some, as you would like a team of the season or something. This is just to give everybody, ourselves included, and any listeners out there, a framework of like an easy way to follow some of these talents. Some of them will be playing more than others. Some of them might not feature at all, but gives you just sort of a baseline to check back in on and see how everybody's doing. And then in some of our wrap-up shows after the World Cup and throughout, I'm sure we can discuss how these talents are developing. And then eventually, in later July after the final, award the breakout star of the tournament, the James Rodríguez Award.
And we'll send them a little trophy. It'll be great.
This is neither here nor there. Let's move on to the team. And we'll start at the back with the goalkeeper. And our selection is Mike Penders from Belgium. He is a Chelsea-owned player, but has played the past season for Strasbourg. He is 20 years old, and he is sort of our selection by default at this position.
Yeah, I think it's a controversial start because, you know, we just established all these rules and we're choosing a Chelsea-owned player.
And ignore them.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of goalkeepers that fit the 22 and under rule, and I don't think any of them are expected to see game time. So Penders is kind of, for us, I think it was the easy choice because of his role with Strasbourg last year. We got to see him firsthand in the Conference League. He was one of the best goalies the whole competition. Great shot stopper, can play with his feet, kind of does it all. And while he might not appear at this World Cup, I think expectations would be 4 years from now, he's the starting goalkeeper for Belgium.
There is some conversation amongst Chelsea circles. We'll have to check in on Cousin Adam at some point here. Some people feel like he could maybe given an opportunity to compete for the starting Chelsea job next year. That's how advanced he is for his age. He had a really good season at Strasbourg after being purchased from, was it Genk? The year prior, where he started quite a lot of games as a teenager, actually. I think 27, 8, something like that for Genk before that transfer. So yeah, he's our selection. We just watched him run through the to the semifinals, I should say, in the Conference League. So we are fairly more familiar with him. And there is one pathway to starting for Belgium in this World Cup, and that's just convincing Courtois to sleep with another of his teammates' wives. It's possible. We've seen it happen. I don't see why it couldn't happen again.
I don't think Belgium would bench him after that. I'm not going to lie.
Probably depends who it is.
Yes.
Depends who it is. Let's move on to the center back pairing, which is where things get interesting. Another big Premier League club owns this first one, but he hasn't appeared in the Premier League and may never. Who knows with what's going on in Tottenham? That's right. We're talking about Luka Vuskovic, the Croatian 19-year-old who has played the past season with HSV and was kind of electric. He is an incredible physical presence with insane physical traits and is really quite an exciting prospect for people who are into defenders. And as a Tottenham fan, you just sort of get visions of him and Mickey Van de Ven being like the most impeccable defensive duo.
That would be an intimidating duo to try to get past. I mean, both.
No kidding.
Both big boys, both super quick as well. Vuskovic, like I said, physically he's great. One of the best aerial presences in the Bundesliga last year.
Scored 6 goals in the Bundesliga.
And he's good with the ball too, to the point that I've seen some people speculating whether he could be a late sub into games for Croatia as they look to kill the game into kind of a DM role, almost similar to what we saw with
Lindelof.
Yeah, exactly. Who I was trying to get that name popped in my head. Brother. Thank you.
I got you.
So almost like we saw with Lindelof in European competitions this year, but he can do that because he can play the ball really well and he kind of fits that build. But yeah, I think as a natural defender, he's also excellent. And if his knee issues are fully dealt with, I think he will get a lot of game time for Croatia.
Yeah, really good spot for Tottenham to send him last year. It worked out really well. They're worried. People were worried. It's like, do you really want him to be in a relegation battle all year? Is that the right fit? But his brother plays there or has played there last year, so he felt at home. Yeah, right. He felt so true. They finished higher in the table than Tottenham did in the Premier League. So it was just a much better atmosphere for him to be in a development season. He won Young Player of the Month at least once in the Bundesliga, and really looks like a prospect. Now Tottenham are going to have to start fending off offers for him because they're going to start flooding in. Would love to see him. I think it looks like Tottenham's leaning to loaning him back for one more year. So I don't know.
Just get the consistent game time, I think, at this age.
And yeah, at Croatia, we've seen at the last World Cup, our James Award winner was Gvardiol. So they're not afraid of playing big minutes to defenders if they're worthy of it. So next to him, we have young Lucas Harrington. This is an Australian, folks. So good day, etc. And he is playing currently for the Colorado Rapids in the MLS. So we thought that was a bit fitting. He is just 18 years old. And he's now played, I think, about 17 games for the Rapids. Bought him from Brisbane Roar, where he played a few dozen games as a teenager. And yeah, he is really good at getting on the ball, winning duels. He's a big lad as well. Both of our starting center backs are 6'4" in this exercise, and he looks like he has a bright future ahead of him. Australia should be excited.
Playing in the MLS as a teenager is a lot more challenging than maybe you would assume because of the quality of the league, right? It's not a top 5 league. It's pretty far from it. But because of the setup of the league, it's very difficult for teenagers to break through, competing with the college system and the young DP system as well. So just to be a teenager playing at the MLS, I think speaks a lot to the quality that Harrington has, and add on that he's going to be starting for his national team at the World Cup. I think he was a easy inclusion.
Yeah, I agree. Australia should be excited. He exists in the world. Let's talk about left and right back. I have Joaquin Seys out of Belgium, 21-year-old, plays for Club Brugge. I have him slotted as right back, even though I think left back is probably his more natural position. But he's played both, and he's been sort of a starter for 2 years already for Brugge, and just seems like a natural fit. He should be, I suspect, he's only been capped 4 times for Belgium, but I suspect soon he will be taking over that position. Left back, more likely, but it's nice to have the flexibility too.
Yeah,
so we have Seys in here.
He really gets forward as well. Great offensive threat.
Yeah. Another left back, Malik Diouf, Senegalese player on West Ham, just 21 as well. Do you like him? What do you think about Diouf?
I mean, I like it. He's well proven as well, which is obviously difficult to do at this age, but started like 30 times for West Ham in the Premier League. So he's been through a challenging season, but, through a league that's very difficult and will challenge you physically in a way that not many other leagues can. I think that's a really good sign that he was able to make that step up from Slavia Prague before. And when he was there, we didn't get to see much of this given West Ham's play style, but 7 goals at Slavia Prague in 24-25. So I think there's that kind of underlying attacking threat with Malik Diouf that maybe you didn't get to see as much this year with West Ham that you could see with Senegal.
Another interesting case here, R6, moving to the midfield, Ayoub Bouadi, one of the most exciting names on the list, and probably not that far from being, if not even crossed the threshold that we've set for who qualifies here. He's 18-year-old, plays for Lille. He mainly has caps at the youth level for France rather than Morocco, but he switched allegiances and gets the call-up for the World Cup with no senior international caps to his name, which is pretty impressive. He was actually only approved a couple of weeks ago as well for the switch. He is the future base of the Moroccan midfield, full stop. And boy, do the Moroccans have an absolutely loaded roster of midfielders to choose between. I hope he gets some minutes because he looks like a real star in the making at the base of midfield.
I'm sure there were some commitments made to him as well. And do you remember his debut game was the Champions League in 2024, where Lille were playing Real Madrid, and he makes his debut on his 17th birthday and is one of the players of the match, right? Incredible performance against Real Madrid back then. And he's just kind of put in a lot of really consistent high-level performances for Lille since then. He's become a really great player at such a young age.
Yeah, I don't know how many minutes. I don't know if he'll start or not for Morocco, but I think he'll get minutes, and I think he won't be long for Lille, unfortunately for those fans. I think he'll be moving up in the world very shortly, and maybe he shouldn't be on this list. I don't know. Hit us in the comments. Tell us we're dumb. I don't care. I actually care a lot. I'm very sensitive. Let's go higher up the midfield where, what do you know? It's our dear friend, Monzambi, who we just can't quit from Freiburg. We think Johan is destined for great things. He is a Swiss international, has 9 Swiss taps to his name coming into this tournament, and we think should be considered to start in their midfield.
Yeah, he probably won't be, but that said,
super sub.
He'd be an incredible super sub. His progression ability, both on the ball and getting to the right spaces off the ball, are probably unmatched within the Swiss roster, which if you bring him on late in the game against tired legs, he is absolutely a difference maker for a midfield that kind of needs that little creative spark that he's going to offer. And I think both of us think he could be really key in a potential deeper run from Switzerland.
And could be one of the favorites because of his potential to actually play and be kind of a super sub off the bench in second halves on a pretty competent Swiss team. Could be one of the favorites for this award. That is our award that we have invented. Finally, to wrap up a very attacking duo in the midfield, Gilberto Mora, the 17-year-old Mexican out of Tijuana, is his club, and he scored 8 goals thus far for Tijuana. Actually, 10 goals thus far for Tijuana over the course of the past 2 seasons, and made the Mexican team as a 17-year-old.
If he plays, he would be Gilberto? If he plays, he'd be the youngest ever Mexican player at the World Cup. To me, he reminds me a little bit of Thomas Muller, just in that he can pop up anywhere on the pitch and without being super physically overwhelming, right? He's not going to be the fastest player. He's not the strongest, but he's going to find every inch of space, and he's just going to pop up in these really decisive moments that influence the game in a way few other people, and especially in what is, in my opinion, a very weak squad by Mexican standards. They don't have a lot of guys that can really take over a game and just have those moments that win you 3 points. And he is that type of player who's just, you could lose him and half a second later he pops up on the edge of the box and scores from there. And it's a unique skill set that not a lot of people in the sport have.
Rumor has it Real Madrid are sending scouts to watch some of his World Cup minutes if he has any.
Are Real Madrid not going to send, like, I just assumed that these giant clubs had to scout it.
No, but for him specifically,
I know
is the bit.
But
and it would be a very Madrid move to prey on the teenagers of Central and South America. Again, that's kind of their MO. Let's go to the front three, starting on the left wing with Kerem Alabegovic, Bosnian Herzegovinian. He plays for Leverkusen, although he played last season for Salzburg, but he is owned by Leverkusen. He is 18 years old. He had an interesting situation where he was in the Bayer Leverkusen youth setup from a young age, played a lot for the U19 team, was really good. Salzburg bought him last summer, but Leverkusen retained a buyback clause. So he wasn't on loan. He was a Salzburg player, but because he was so good in his one and only season in Austria, they have exercised that buyback clause, I believe. So he will be returning to Leverkusen next year and will probably be a big part of the setup for the following season. He was, I think, he was the newcomer of the season in the Austrian Bundesliga this year. He had 13 goals, 4 assists, and looks like a player. He was part of the Bosnian squad that took out Italy. He was out there. Which Bosnia that's interesting because that squad is a lot of like sort of developed older guys that have been in that setup for a while, and he's kind of the odd man out there and gives them like an extra bit of pop. That's exciting. Is he gonna start? He might.
I think he is supposed to start, right? I feel like that's what I've been seeing, but the man loves a shot. He hasn't seen a shot that he didn't want to take, so if he does start, expect him to be a name that you hear multiple times throughout the game.
Indeed. Moving to the other wing, Assane Diao, somebody I'm sure you would like to talk about as a Serie A player. Played for Como this year, Senegalese, 20-year-old, and, doesn't get the same amount of credit that his teammate Nico Paz does because he's not, a Real Madrid player on loan. He's not Argentine. He doesn't have the same, name branding that Paz does. But tell me why he is on this list. Tell me his qualities.
Yeah, he is, of all the players we've listed, I think he's going to be the most direct. He's probably the fastest player, maybe at the World Cup. I mean, he's super pacey. He is going to force defenders into a ton of fouls. He gets players into a lot of trouble because you just can't keep up with him, and you are kind of forced to resort to just dragging him down. We saw it a couple years ago with Betis in the Europa League when he was there, and he kind of had his first little breakout moment with them and looked incredible. I really couldn't believe they sold him at that time, but that's been done and dusted. It is what it is. And he had some injury issues, maybe a bit of a disappointing season with Como by what he would have expected to do personally. But his profile is just so dangerous that with all that taken into account, I think he, to me, is most likely to be our James Rodríguez Award winner. If he gets the opportunities, I think he's going to absolutely blow people's minds.
Could he pair with Mane?
I think he can, because he can play on both sides, and I think that gives him the opportunity to be a little flexible as well. And as Mane's aging, I think having that outrageous pace across from him is going to give Mane even more space in Senegal's attack.
You heard it here first, folks. And finally up top, sort of by default, a little bit of a come down from the excitement of the wingers, is Matias Fernandes Pardo, Belgian international out of Lille, 21 years old. We covered him a lot during the Europa League season for Lille. And I think he's a talented, exciting young player. I don't know if he has the ceiling of some of the other guys we discussed so far, but the striker position was a little thin, frankly,
especially
based
since
on
we
our criteria.
Yeah, we took Endrick out, who probably would have been most people's first choice as like a young striker, but yeah, it's a really thin group of young strikers coming through. Not a position where people are developing.
Well, the thing is that strikers because they get bigger faster too. Like they get more famous because it's the goal scoring position.
Sure.
They sell for bigger prices younger. It's just harder to find guys at this stage of development that aren't well-known commodities, I think.
I also think it's a position that develops later than your midfielders or your wingers, right? Because it's a lot more about positioning yourself, and your physical tools are important, but maybe less on display. So for younger players, I think if you're that like super top prospect, it's most likely you're going to be used as a winger or midfielder until you develop a little further, when you might move more centrally.
I feel like we're being a little rude and dismissive to Fernandez Pardo here, who is like a good footballer. But
he is.
Those are, yeah. Anyway, we have a bench here. We're going to blow through some of these, just other names that could have some effect. Some of them are closer omissions than others, but let's start with the backup goalkeeper. That is Mathieu Epolo, Congolese at Standard Liège, 21 years old. We have Junosuke Suzuki, the Japanese international out of Copenhagen at the moment, 22, a little bit on the older end for my taste, but he's a pretty competent player and on a team that has pretty good center back options, so he may not see too much of the field, but we shall see. Tyler Binden, the other center back in defense here, New Zealand player. We always love a Kiwi on the show. He is a Nottingham Forest player that's been on loan at Sheffield United, 21 years old. Now, he might actually have a pathway to playing, because New Zealand isn't exactly loaded with talent. I don't know if you know this about Kiwi soccer. No offense.
Yeah, don't look at our power rankings if you're a Kiwi fan.
Or do, because you're not last. The Demir Tiknaz, a player we're pretty familiar with, as he had a big run with Braga in the Europa League this year, the semifinal. 21-year-old Turkish defensive midfielder. Quite like Tiknaz for Braga, for what we saw.
Yeah, I think he has going to have a tough time getting minutes with Turkey, is part of why he's maybe on our bench instead of in the starting 11.
Yes. Paul Vonner, Austrian, 20 years old, plays for PSV in that same position. The defensive midfield, the sixes in this group are outstanding. It's an incredible group of talent. I think Vonner is honestly a name that you could watch for this award as well, if he gets big minutes for Austria, and Austria make a little bit of a run as sort of a fun Ranić team. He was a pretty harsh omission, frankly, given his talents.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's a competitive position in this team. There's, as you said, there's a lot of really good young sixes coming through right now.
And we went with 2 attacking mids instead of 2 defensive mids. So then Noah Siddiqui, another Congolese player, plays for Sunderland, 21 years old. You might have caught him a little bit in the Premier League this year. He's a little more of an advanced midfielder, sort of a combo box-to-box 8 type, which we omitted from the starting 11, perhaps to the team's imbalance. But what are you going to do? This isn't real. Ibrahim Maza, Algerian Leverkusen player, 20 years old, attacking midfielder. He's another one to watch. You might notice that a lot of these players play in Germany, and I don't think that should surprise anyone that's listening to this podcast. If you know, you know. How about Bazumana Torre, Ivorian and Hoffenheim, left winger, 20 years old?
Yeah, he might play himself out of contention for this award, because starting to see a couple Liverpool links about him potentially joining them. Likely
in case they miss out to Diamande.
Mm-hmm. And then I think it'd be likely to be with a loan, either back or somewhere else in Germany. Because he probably
hopefully
needs another
Hoffenheim,
year.
because then we get to watch him in the Europa League next year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Qualified.
And he'd get more game time opportunities because of that. But
would love to watch that.
This is a guy that loves to stick close to the touchline, get down to the end line and put it across. He's exceptional at what he does. I think to be so young with such a specific skill that you say, I'm going to do this over and over and over again, and you're not going to be able to stop it, is really exciting to watch, because you know what he's going to do, and he's just going to beat you to it. So really promising player.
And our final bench guy is going to be a 22-year-old out of Uzbekistan who plays for Besiktas, Abuzbek Fayzuliev.
I think you got it. That was personally to try to make Max have to pronounce it.
Abuzbek Fayzuliev. How did I do, Uzbekis? Let me know in the comments.
There's one other player I wanted to mention, but I think leaving him off might be the right choice because we both live in the U.S., as listeners can probably tell by our voices. And he's been talked about a ton in U.S. circles. And it's Alex Freeman, who recently moved to Villarreal in January. And he seems like he might get pushed into a starting role. And it's like all the U.S. media can talk about right now. So partially removed him for that reason. He's an exceptional one-on-one defender, though. So if he does start, I think the U.S. will be... I think he has a chance to really shine for the U.S. if he does get thrust into that role.
Save it for the CONCACAF pod, David.
Yeah.
Save it for the CONCACAF pod. So that's our team. The other guy we're going to mention was Diego Moreira that just missed the cut as well. Another Belgian. A lot of Belgians on this list. He's a Strasbourg player as well. We watched him in the Conference League, 21 years old. Didn't quite make it over Toure and Fayzuliev. Yeah. So that's our team. You sort of tipped your hand already, but who do you think is most likely to win the award from this list? Who's your pick?
Yeah, I think I said it as well. Assane Diao to me is, I think his highest level is going to be higher than everyone else in this group of players, and that he can really be a difference maker and is, in my opinion, likely to have the opportunity to do so, which is something that a lot of these players might not have. Right? It's like we're talking about them as potential breakout players, but they do need to get the game time to get the award.
That's the thing, yeah.
So I have Assane Diao. I think I know where you're going.
I think if he got the game time, Vuskovic would be my pick. I don't think he'll be starting out there, though. I think he has as high a ceiling as anybody that we've named. I think Manzambi has a good chance because, but I don't think he's going to start. I think he's going to have to develop as the tournament goes by proving himself off the bench. And I don't know how long the Swiss are going to go for either. So instead, I'm actually going to go to, maybe this is chalk, but Bouadi, I think, if he gets serious minutes or even the start in the Moroccan midfield, then it's possible Amrabat, because of the experience, gets the first look. But I think Bouadi might be a more impactful player at that position than Amrabat is at this stage of his career. Amrabat's had a pretty inconsistent 3 seasons post Fiorentina, domestically. And I think Bouadi has the sort of qualities you need to be, for Morocco specifically, the way they play, and sort of protecting the back line and dictating space in that way. I think he has a chance to be sort of really on the forefront of people's minds when they think about a really talented Moroccan team, and has a lot of talented players around him too. So with experience. So that's going to be my answer. It's Ayoub.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout.
Manzambi?
I thought you were going to say Manzambi, and I thought you were going to mention Vuskovic as well. I nailed your 2 alternative options though, so I was close on that.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you agree. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. We're on this whole episode's on YouTube if you're watching. If you're listening on, just typical audio mediums and you want to see our delightful faces, and the inverse is true if you don't like looking at us and just want to listen. That's it. That's the end of the pod. Cheers to all these young fellas, and
cheers.
There can be only one James Rodríguez Award winner.